Hi, my name is Elizabeth Cunningham. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I am going to be talking with you about how to start your coaching business as a queer relationship coach. I'm going to cover a lot of key points in this video, but I hope that you know that all of these points that I cover could be gone into in such greater detail, but I wanted to give you an overview of these key points so that you would have an understanding of either where you can start or if you have just started, perhaps where you can go. Before we get into all of that, please do me a wonderful favor and hit the subscribe button to my channel and the notification bell so that you don't miss a video. Okay, great. All right. One of the main reasons why I wanted to make this video and just content like this in general is because this would have been really helpful for me when I started out as a coach and when I started my relationship coaching business. This would have saved me a lot of time and money. So hopefully this is just as helpful for you. The key points that I want to cover in this video are really getting a solid foundation of your goals for starting a queer relationship coaching business, because that's also going to determine the actions that you take and how you want to create and build this business. The other part of the foundation of your coaching business are what are your credentials for being a relationship coach? And we're going to go over different ways that you can have credentials for being a relationship coach or a queer relationship coach. And then we're also going to go over how to start your business and some solid key points of how to start marketing yourself and how to share with people and how to get clients. But like I said, each one of these things could be broken down into its own hour-long video, into its own book. I have an entire course about all of this stuff. So everything that we're going to go over today could be gone into in much more depth, but I'm going to cover it as best as I can so that you get a really solid idea and foundation of where to start. My goal is that you have an action step after this video. So, with those top 3 bullet points, we're going to start with creating the solid foundation. What are your goals for starting a queer relationship coaching business? And so, some of the questions that I ask my clients are, do you want this to be a part-time business or a full-time business? Or do you want it to be a part-time business at first that turns into a full-time business? Maybe you just always want it to be part-time. Maybe you either have another business or you're working a job that's like your stable income, and this is something that you just feel really passionate about, that you want to help people with, and that people can pay you for outside of your normal job. For those of you who might want to do this part-time at first, but then go into full-time, depending on your circumstances, that would be my recommendation. That's what I did with my coaching business. So, like, what is going to be the best path for you? Or is this something where you want this to be full-time as fast and as soon as possible? Or maybe you don't have a job right now, or you don't have another source of income right now, and this is like the thing that you are committing to and you want this to be full time right now. So, if that is where you are at currently, that last one that I pointed out, I definitely want you to listen to what are your credentials for that, because that is also, I think, going to determine your direction having this be a successful full time business really quickly. So, there's that. So, do you want this to be part time? Do you want it to be full time or somewhere in between? And then, is this something that you see yourself doing for the next few years? Or do you see yourself doing this for 5 years, for 10 years? Is this something that you want to continue to grow inside of? I went from doing this part time to then doing it full time to then creating group programs to now I have created a certification in business development program. So I really have expanded this into a larger career and larger business. Now, most people are not going to choose the route that I have. The relationship coaches that I know, most of them just want this to be their full-time thing where they make the amount of money that feels comfortable for them every single year, and they get to do something that they love and help the community that they love. And then the second people in that are people who want to do this part-time, or this is just something that they do either one day a week or maybe one night a week or something like that. And it's just something that they're really passionate about that they just like also happen to get paid for as well. So I know that I'm in the minority as far as someone who wanted to really take this and then run with it. But so you really get to choose, what do you see in the future for yourself? And if you only see 2 or 3 years in the future, that's totally okay. And as you know, going throughout life, there are going to be things that come up. There are going to be things that you learn over time that are going to have you shift and pivot what works for you. So even if you have the idea right now that you just want this to be part-time, but then maybe 2 years from now you decide to take it full-time, that's also totally fine. So whatever your answer is right now is perfect. It's exactly where you need to be. Another thing inside of working part-time or full-time, how many people do you want to work with at a time? How much money do you want to make doing this? That can also determine the type of coaching business or the coaching business trajectory that you go towards. If this is just something that you want to make anywhere between $40 to $150,000 a year, you could probably just work with one-on-one clients. But if you're trying to scale this business, then you might want to think about creating courses eventually. So again, your business goals are going to determine the direction that you go. And in having business goals, it's also going to make you really creative with what you want to do and deciding what you want to do. And it's also going to give you a lot of really great questions to ask. And I really believe that asking good questions is more important than finding the answer to those questions, because asking that question isn't going to lead you down the path that's going to have you grow and discover and build from there, even if there's never like a specific answer. So hopefully that made sense. All right. And then the other part of what are your goals for starting a queer relationship coaching business could be, are there specific people that you want to work with? So I know that people that I have certified in my program, some people specifically want to work with people who've grown up in a very religious background and came out either when they were still in that very religious environment or didn't come out until they were out of that religious environment and are now trying to navigate LGBTQ relationships and also unpack the things or unlearn the things from their religious background that might be hindering them in their current relationship. As an example of a group of people that someone could work with. For those people who have been following me for any amount of time, know that I also primarily work with people who are non-monogamous or who are polyamorous. And so that's the overlap of people that I work with. It's totally okay if you're just like, no, I just want to help people with their queer relationships, with their LGBTQ plus relationships. That is also totally fine. It's completely fine to start broader as well. The debate on that is that if you niche down too much, then you pigeonhole yourself, unless that's something that is really important to you, like working with people who grew up with a very religious background is like really important to you and that's something that you want to stick with for a really long time, then great, that's perfect. But if it's something that you're just choosing to choose a niche, I would keep it broader and start to work with people of all different types of backgrounds. So that way you can really see who you work best with, or maybe the people that really resonate with you and your work. Like you'll start to see a trend and a pattern. And after you do this for a while, then maybe you start to get more specific from there. That's totally okay as well. I'm definitely someone who, inside of creating goals for your queer relationship coaching business, I lean more towards creating yourself as a personal brand rather than creating yourself as a niche. But that is a video for another time, just adding in that little nugget there. So that's the first step, is What are your goals for starting a queer relationship coaching business? So the next point is, what are your credentials? The way that I think about it is that I see that there are three different types of coaches. Now, this is very broad and very general, and it's not true that there are three different types of coaches. This is just how I think about coaching as an industry in general. There are the coaches who have an experience in this area. You have had queer relationships. You are a queer person and have had queer relationships, and you feel like you've done really well inside of them, or you've learned a lot, or people come to you for advice. So you see yourself or other people see you as a trustworthy source to help them with their relationships. And so then you decide to become a relationship coach. So it's purely just based off of your experience. The second group of people are people who have some sort of certification. So you have a general life coaching certification, or maybe you have a more specific type of coaching certification, but you have some sort of education, like certification around coaching or relationship coaching, or even queer relationship coaching. And then the third group of people are people who have more of a either professional background or have some sort of degree in this area. For myself, one of my degrees is in gender and sexuality. I've also worked in domestic violence centers, and then I've also been trained as a coach. So I'm like in both 2 and 3. Like I said, these are very general. There's a lot of overlap. There's nothing that's like true about this. And then maybe some people who are in that third category are therapists. They've already been trained as a therapist, but they realize that they want to either also do coaching on top of the work that they do as a therapist, or they want to switch from being a therapist to being a coach. So they have a lot of background, acumen, training, and degrees around helping people in their relationships. And now they're switching into this other industry with that background already established. I'm not saying that any one of these categories is necessarily better than the other one. I think that it's really important to set that foundation so that you know what your scope is, because you knowing your scope is going to serve you, and it's going to serve your clients, and it's going to make sure that you reduce the amount of harm that you could transfer to your clients. So we'll go with the religious background. So if you were going to work with that group of people, but you've never gone through a trauma informed training, you're not a trauma therapist, you do not have the scope and the ability to hold that space for that person without the possibility of causing more harm. Now, that being said, we all have the possibility of causing each other harm, regardless of the amount of training that we have. We are human. To err is human, and we can trigger one another. We do not know other people's triggers, no matter how trained we are. We can't account for or know every single person's triggers. I'm not saying that the person with just a lived experience is lesser than or less capable than the person who has training. I'm saying that the person who has the training and now the skill to be able to hold those spaces at a level and capacity that the person with just the lived experience may not be able to, because they've never been trained to do that, because it is a skill. If you were just starting to practice basketball and you wanted a basketball coach, there's the difference between someone who has just like always played pickup games their entire life and being coached by someone who has been in the NBA or WNBA. Like there's a complete difference in the level of skill and knowledge and training with the person who has played professional basketball versus the person who's just been playing pickup games their entire life. The person who's been playing pickup games their entire life, I'm sure, can give you great tips, great advice, awesome coaching. I'm sure that you could learn a lot from that person. It is just going to be different because the skill level and the training is different. So, hopefully, I've delivered that point home properly. So, the person with just the lived experience, you're going to create a different business because you have a different scope. And it might look the same structurally. Like the person with the experience might have 10 one on one clients every single week. And the person who has more training may also have 10 one on one clients every single week. But the scope that is covered within those sessions is going to look completely different, right? Because it's a different container with a different person with a different level of training. So one is not better than the other, but in order to reduce harm for your clients, it is so important to know your scope. So using myself as an example, I do have a degree in gender and sexuality. I've worked at a domestic violence center before. I have extensive training in coaching and different coaching modalities inside of just general coaching, leadership coaching, sex and eroticism coaching, and also specific modalities that work with somatics and emotional processing as well. And I've also done trauma informed trainings, multiple trauma informed trainings. However, my scope is different than someone who is a trauma therapist who has specifically gone to school, maybe gotten their master's, maybe even has a PhD in trauma therapy. Their scope for holding space for people with trauma is completely different than mine, right? So, me knowing my scope, how I can keep myself and my clients safe and create a safe container for us and for their growth is to know when we have reached the level of out of my scope. And I'll be very clear and transparent with the people that I'm working with and let them know this is how I work. This is what I can offer. This is how I can help you. And then if they ever bring anything to me that's out of my scope, then I'll share that with them. I'll have that type of trust and that container and that relationship with them. So I hope that was clear. So those are the three of the places that you might be. So if you start in one place, then you could take a certification program. You could go back to school. There's a number of different continuing education things. I've been working and studying in this field since 2008. And the amount of training and continuing education that I have gotten since then has been immense. I have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my education, and I continue to do continuing education every single year because that's something that's really important to me, and that's how I want to grow and progress in my career. But I'm creating that as a possibility and not as like a way that you have to do it. Again, scope is most important, and knowing what your scope is and being able to communicate what your scope is most important in providing clear and transparent and safe services for yourself and for your clients as well. So, the next point, the third point in starting your business as a queer relationship coach is how to actually build the business itself. But you know what your business goals are, you know your scope as a queer relationship coach. Okay, now you want to open for business. How do you get clients? How do you let people know that you are now open for business? I think the best way to build a relationship coaching business is by building relationships. You get to decide as the coach, as the business owner, what works best for you in building relationships and building your business and letting people know that you are a business. So, I'm going to go over some of the top ways that I think are best in building a coaching business. And just so you know, there are a myriad amount of ways that you can build your business. So, these are just things that I have seen work really well. But I think, again, it's most important to look through the lens of how am I building and cultivating relationships? Because if you are coming from that point of view, then you're going to have a greater likelihood of having people sign up with you, of getting word of mouth referrals, who you are and how you're presenting yourself. This also goes into building your personal brand or how people know you. Another way to say that is like, what is your reputation as a business owner or as a relationship coach? And so, how are you building this in a way that people feel really drawn to you, that they want to work with you, that they see the value in what you do? And how are you providing value for people? Like that's relationships, right? Like in relationships, it's reciprocal, it's back and forth, it's not just one way, it's not transactional. How are you building relationships to build your business so that way you can have that solid foundation that you can build upon and that will continue to grow as your business continues to grow and as you continue to grow? So here are some of the top ways that I think that are really great in building relationships and building a business. So, first way that I think is the easiest and fastest way to start your business is word of mouth and asking for referrals. So, telling people in your sphere and in your network that you are open for business and if they know anyone who might be a good fit in working with you. So, yes, literally pick up the phone and be like, "Hey, Sarah." I had some really exciting news. I just opened my relationship coaching business, and I'm really committed that LGBTQ people have just the best, healthiest, most satisfying and fulfilling relationships ever. And I was wondering if you knew anyone who you might recommend that I talk to, or maybe you had a referral for me for people who you think would be a good fit to work with me. And Sarah might be like, "That sounds like something that I could really use. Let's talk about that." Or she might be like, "Oh my God, who you need to talk to is this person." And then getting their contact information or having Sarah introduce you to that person. Maybe that's just over a three-way text message. Or she might be like, "Wow, that's really exciting. I love that for you. I can't really think of anybody, but good luck. I love you." Like, great. Like those are all the things that Sarah might say. Or hopefully Sarah doesn't tell you to F off, and if she does, then I might recommend rethinking your relationship with Sarah. That doesn't sound like a very supportive friend to me. But yeah, so being able to, like, actually just tell people that you're in business, that you're open to taking clients, that these are the type of people that you want to serve, and maybe you do that via the phone, maybe you do that over text messages, maybe you put that out on your Facebook account that's just like, "Hey, this is what's going on. This is what's new with me. Let me know." What works best is actually reaching out to people individually. People are more likely to engage and to give you an answer if you reach out directly to them. That is, in my opinion, the fastest way when you first start out. Of course, over time, it's going to evolve. Maybe this isn't the only way that you're going to always get business. But in starting out, this is a really great way to do that because you're reaching out to people who already know you, like you, and trust you. And so it's going to be easier to get referrals. It's also a good warm up for you as a business owner to talk about what you do because it's a little bit lower stakes because you can totally mess up with people that already know you and love you, hopefully, and they're a lot more forgiving of you saying things weird or coming across in a way, or it's just easier for you to apologize and just be like, "Okay, I'm being a weirdo. I'm sorry. This is what I wanted to share." And, da da da. Do you know anybody? So that is, in my opinion, the easiest and fastest way to get your business off the ground. The second easiest and fastest way that I see for people who are just starting, literally just starting, is to host workshops in your area and invite people to come to your workshops. So maybe if having that direct ask feels a little bit too scary, then asking people to come to your workshops might be more effective for you. Just like, "Hey, I'm having a workshop about how best to resolve conflict in LGBTQIA plus relationships. Do you know anyone who would benefit from this workshop? Can you connect me with them? Great, perfect, thank you. You can also put it as an event on Eventbrite or something like that, where maybe people come to it where you didn't know them before. So now you're also getting people to get to know you through your workshop. And then maybe at your workshop, you share, if this workshop was really beneficial for you today, I would love to talk with you about one on one coaching. That's something that I offer. I have 5 slots available right now. So please come up and talk to me. So that's another really great way to start out your business. The third way that I want to talk about is creating content on an online platform. And the reason why I want to talk about this is not because it's necessarily the best way to start your business, but it's one of the most common ways that we now think about when starting businesses is like, oh no, like I need to post on social media and I don't want to post on social media. So therefore, I don't want to start a business. Let's talk about it. You don't need to create content on an online platform in order to be a viable business. There are plenty of people, and I know some of them personally, who have very successful businesses where they are just word of mouth, or they're just through like these private workshops that they invite people to, or that they just post on Eventbrite. Like I know plenty of people who have successful businesses by doing things like that, that have nothing to do with having an online presence at all. In fact, what I also want to talk to you about creating an online presence to grow your business is that your followers, like the follower count that you have, has nothing to do with the success of your business. I know people who have 6 figure and multiple 6 figure businesses who are not even on social media. And I know people who have thousands and thousands of followers on social media and they only make $30,000 to $40,000 a year. Now, $30,000 to $40,000 a year for you might sound really good. So I'm not here to judge like what level of income is best, but more so to the point of you can have literally 0 social media followers and have a very successful business, and you can have thousands of social media followers and not have a successful business. You don't want to focus on follower count. If you want to use social media as a marketing and business strategy, it is so much more about the quality of content rather than the quantity of content, and really being very specific about who you're speaking to, what they're dealing with, and then giving them value from that so that they know they can trust you, and then inviting them into your world in some way or another, which we're going to talk about here in just a second. So, if social media is something that you want to do, that's what you want to focus on. And if social media is something you don't want to do, you don't have to. You do not have to. You do not have to have an Instagram. You don't have to have a TikTok. You don't have to have an X account. You don't have to have a YouTube account. You don't have to have a podcast. You don't have to write a blog. You don't have to do any of those things in order to have a successful business. And like I said, if you do want to go in that direction, I would also highly recommend to choose one platform to start off with and then go from there, build from there. So I actually started off podcasting, and then I started to get more into Instagram, and now I'm on YouTube. So over the years, I've added things on, but this is something that I want to do. Like, I like putting these things out there on the internet. I like talking about these things and posting these things and figuring out how to do the audio and figuring out what works best. Like, I like doing this stuff. And so this works for me. This is me running my business in a way that works for me. And you don't have to do it this way. So really just like honing in on the point that how you want to do your business is going to be the best way for you, even if it makes you uncomfortable. I get so uncomfortable. It took me almost the whole day to make myself make this video, even though I like doing it, because it is uncomfortable to put yourself out there. It's not that it's easy, it's not that it's always comfortable, but it's the way that you want to do it. It's the way that feels aligned. It's the way that you feel like you have integrity for yourself. And that will grow and it'll shift and it'll change over time as well. So meet yourself where you are at and start there. Okay. So the last thing is that all of these things depend on your business goals. So all of these things that I've already talked about really depend on your business goals and how you want to build this business and then being able to create inside of that. And the last thing that I'll say is that the thing that I think that you really need to have is an email list. So, regardless of what you choose, whether that be word of mouth referral, whether that be workshops, whether that be a social media platform, whether that be any of the other myriad ways that you could share with people that you are open for business, funneling them into an email list is probably one of the most important things that you can do. So when you get a client, put them in your email list. When you get a referral, put them in your email list. When you host a workshop, email list, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's two main reasons for this. The first one is that no one can take away your email list. Unless the internet breaks, which we none of us have any control over, and then we'll have a whole different set of problems if that happens, so you won't have to worry about your email list at that point. But no one can control your email list and no one can take it away from you. Having this email list is better than having a social media account, for example, because you could get shut down on Instagram, on X, on TikTok, on YouTube, like all of your stuff, all of your followers, all of everything that you've built can get taken away. And even if you host workshops, you don't really have an online business per se, you get word of mouth referral, you host workshops, et cetera, et cetera. Having an email list is number one, a way to keep all of your leads in one place. So that way you have their information and contact information and you can follow up with them, which I'll probably talk about in another video. And this is a way that you can start creating really valuable touch points, even if it's just once a month. Even if you just send out a monthly newsletter that has something like the top 10 benefits of having hard conversations with your partner and how to get through that together. Having that monthly touch point is going to keep you top of mind for those people. So when they do want to work with you, they can be like, oh, yeah, they send out these, newsletters. Like, where is that in my email inbox? And I'm just going to reply to them. That happens to me where people will reply to my newsletters either with comments or with wanting to work together or with questions or something like that. It's a way for people to engage with you. And you want people to engage with you as a business, as a coach. You want that engagement. So it's a very valuable and personal touch point for people to be able to engage with you directly, which I also argue is better than social media anyway, because social media can also feel very indirect, especially if you're someone who doesn't want to have DMs, for example. And the other thing about having an email list is if someone is on your email list, they really want to hear from you. When have you ever signed up for anyone's email list because you're just like, oh, yeah, for sure, I want another email in my inbox? No, like you sign up for people's email list because you really want to hear from them. You really want to hear when their next workshop is. You really want to hear what their next offering is. You really do want to get that discount from them or whatever. Like people sign up for email lists because it's something that they really want to know and learn and be a part of. And so having that email list is also a place where all of your people who really want to hear from you, even if it's just 10 people. I think my email list started off with 15 people several years ago. But those 15 people really wanted to hear from me. And I usually only work with 15 people a week for one-on-one clients. And so 15 people is enough to fill like my entire practice. So you don't need a lot of people. You just need the people who want to work with you. You don't need thousands and thousands of people. You need your people. And so that's also why building your business is like building relationships. You're being authentic, you're being who you are, you're presenting what you do and what you offer. And then people get to decide whether or not they want to engage with you. It's just like building relationships. You're like, this is me, this is who I am, this is who I am authentically. You want the people who want you. And it's the same with building a business. You want the people that want you. So, being your authentic self, presenting things that are valuable to people based off of what you want to teach or want to coach is going to then help build that reputation, help build that personal brand, help build the value for the other person. And then they'll sign up and they'll work with you. The last and most important thing about this inside of your business being relationship building is that this is a long game. Yes, if you have a really expansive network to start off with, like when I took my business from part time to full time, in that part time era, I had built up enough of my network that when I switched my business to full time, I actually created a six-figure business in 6 months because I had that really solid network of relationships already built up from building it part time, right? And so I went from not making almost any money in this business to making a six-figure business. I was making about anywhere between ten to $20,000 a month because I had built up such a solid foundation with my network to begin with. And that was from the 2016, 2017, all the way to 2020. So 3 or 4 years. So this business is a long game. Very few people go from zero to $100,000 a month overnight. There's no such thing as overnight successes, right? Most of the time, those people have built some sort of acumen, some sort of following, some sort of network, some sort of something, all of these assets. They've been building all of these assets over a longer period of time. And then all of a sudden, there gets to be this tipping point of success where then now they're like all of a sudden inside of this completely different bracket of success than they were before. So this is a long game. So regardless of what your goals are, it's going to take some time and effort on your part in order to build that up, which is also why having these goals and having why do you want to do this is going to be so important and so helpful to keep your mindset in the game, keep your mindset moving forward so that you're continually taking those actions, even if you're not always seeing results. If you want to learn more and have an actual like physical resource of this, you can go to the link in the video description and you can get my free guide that is a starter kit for your queer relationship coaching. I want you to click on that, read over the whole free guide, and really dive deep into what you want to get and what it will take to be a successful queer relationship coach. And you can always reach out to me as well. So my email is love@elizabethannecunningham.com. That's also in the video description below. I would love to get any of your questions. If you're considering becoming a queer relationship coach, please check out again the resource, the starter kit for queer relationship coaches. Well, I'm excited for you and your journey. Thank you so much for watching this video today. And if you have any requests for videos for the future, please let me know. Any and all comments on this video, I will answer unless they're comments that are left in bad faith, and then I'm not going to answer at all. That's my boundary with these videos. All right, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.